All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we have much to talk about today. The Trump arraignment, the cracking wide open, by the way, of the Burisma scandal involving Joe Biden, and the resulting FBI cover-up, things pertinent to that. Also, the the Pride Day at the White House did not go over so well. We'll be talking about the hypocrisy and the humor there as well with Rose Montoya, among other people. RFK Jr., the IRS, they've scored a major win, undeservingly, unfortunately, from the Supreme Court, and other news as well. We'll be talking about all of that. I see a whole lot of clanking going on down there. Let's make sure that we're live on Rumble. Just a moment, everyone. Yes, we're live there. In chat, we've got Swamp Donkey saying, good morning, peeps. Cam2425IA, morning clankdom. Shilly Willy, good morning, clankers. And Perth Reds, clankers unite. Absolutely. We must remain united at this time. Since there's a whole lot of fucking going on within the political system in the world, you may have noticed that of late. Anyway, we'll make sure the tabs are all working. Yes, they are. Good. We'll begin in a moment, of course. By the way, cross-platform in the description and also pinned at the top if you're watching on YouTube. My work on gun rights is still available on Amazon.com. It's gotten a huge reception. Actually, it's poised to outsell Orange Man big. One thing that I didn't mention a couple times that I pitched the work, though, if you do buy a copy, I do appreciate a rating on there. Amazon did scrub some of the ratings. I'm assuming that people that would like brand new accounts, they bought the book and they found it spammy or something, so the ratings got removed. And so that can actually hold a book back. So if you did buy a copy, if you would check in if your rating is still there, number one. If you haven't left a rating, I do appreciate it, including negative criticism. You know, didn't like the work for some reason or another. I can refine future products if I've got negative criticism too. Although I definitely appreciate the 5-star reviews more. I'm not allowed under Amazon's TOS to encourage you to leave a specific rating. I will just say that, I mean, with any author, you know, you have a preference, obviously. Over 1,000 copies, actually. Adam Berger, Styx's computer is an abacus, apparently. No, it's not. It's an Alienware, which means it has jet engine fans and makes a lot of fucking noise. There are some drawbacks to gaming computers, I will say. Also, the fact that its screen decided to fuck off under the wheels of a bus, you know, at some point. Anyway, AP1S2K, Trump voice, Pixie, your hair looks great. Repeated commenter detected. We'll start right off. I want to get into this right away, and people can super chat or whatever, and I'll get to those when I'm done ranting. As Trump is indicted again, Republican primary foes must answer. Will you pardon him? Vivek Ramaswamy yesterday morning, was talking about this particular issue upon the arraignment of Donald Trump. And I made a video this morning. I made it a New Tech exclusive. I thought it was fascinating. Ramaswamy, other than Trump, is definitely the man in the race with strategic skills. I mean, is it Chris Christie? No. Is it Mike Pence? Doubtful. Is it Nikki Haley? She knows how to ride the fence really well, but that doesn't really get you very far. If you're looking for a cabinet position, you got to take up a definitive stance on major issues. With Ramaswamy, he came out and he challenged all the other GOP candidates to say whether they would or would not pardon Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, probably the biggest loser in the room by taking the bait but not giving a definitive answer. I would be inclined to pardon Donald Trump. Ramaswamy did this for a reason, and I analyzed that this morning in one of my videos. Ramaswamy realizes that there is always the chance that Trump is prevented from running by an act of Congress or dies. He is 76 years old. He's looking to a situation where there is no other MAGA candidate, and he can therefore scrape together a victory. It is a way of attacking Trump, actually, with plausible deniability. And this is where his strategic genius really comes into play. You're effectively begging the question about whether Trump will be found guilty or not. You're assuming that he will, and asking other candidates to effectively sign a loyalty pledge that many of them will be unwilling or unable to give a straight answer on where you are. Ramaswamy, of course, has said, yes, if nominated, I will pardon Donald Trump. Again, this plants in people's minds the idea that he'll be found guilty and he'll be running from a jail cell or unable to run at some point. That's what Ramaswamy is doing here. Now, I'm not taking in by Team Ramaswamy. Some people this morning, both pro and anti-Ramaswamy, by the way, didn't understand the concept of my video. Some of them appear not to have even watched the whole thing. I will be voting for Donald Trump in the 24 election. If he is prevented from being the candidate, I will write him in. I'm not going to vote for the other Republicans in the field. The only way that that could be otherwise is if Rand Paul got in because Trump died or something like that. I would vote for Rand Paul because I know that he's got principles. Ramaswamy, his principles are self-serving. I see through what he's doing, but I did have to applaud his strategic genius. He countermanded the entire field, and now they're being pressured. As this particular opinion article points out, they're being pressured to give an answer. Now, DeSantis has leaned in the direction of saying, yeah, pardon me, the Justice Department overreach, the DOJ is out of control. He hasn't answered the central question, but he's dancing around it, but he's given a de facto answer. Chris Christie, on the other hand, has decided to go full bulldog. I was going to cover him, by the way, but there's that Massachusetts school incident with the pride thing that I decided to cover instead because it's actually relevant. Chris Christie, on the other hand, way on the other side of the spectrum, saying, well, I wouldn't fire Ray. Nothing's being done wrong here. Donald Trump has heaped this on himself. He sounds like a fat version of Mitt Romney, actually. And so he's, for some odd reason, he thinks that the never Trump vote will actually bolster him. I don't think that's going to happen. Chris Christie at this point is effectively a zero in the polling for a reason. Trump, by the way, still up big in the 3 post-indictment polls that we've got. His aggregated result hasn't changed really, so he's still by far the front runner. Chris Christie on one side, you've got the Ramaswamy on the other side. DeSantis leans toward the Ramaswamy side, and then you've got like Nikki Haley and presumptively Mike Pence straddling the line. Nobody else in the race matters. It does not matter what Asa Hutchinson says, Larry Elder, and any of the others, they're afterthought candidates. There are effectively 5 people in the race that actually have any form of mojo. I think at this point, it's basically Donald Trump versus DeSantis, and then everyone else is competing to get more attention to be third place. So again, you've got Vivek Ramaswamy, who's trying to do that by being MAGA. You've got Christie trying to do that by being anti-MAGA. And then you've got Nikki Haley in the middle, playing monkey in the middle, possibly having to fend off Mike Pence. I think that she'll destroy Pence. I don't think that he'll be able to do anything meaningful. He's been tarnished on both ends, both MAGA and anti-MAGA. As far as this goes, though, as far as the Trump indictment itself, it's another kangaroo court trial. It's nonsensical. There is no reason to put Trump on trial, getting rid of 250 years of civic and legal precedent in order to go after Orange Man because Orange Man bad. We're talking about non-crimes here. We're talking about a combination of overclassification and also the National Archives appearing to have set up Trump deliberately. Now, this has been pointed out by multiple individuals. I happen to agree with the basic sentiment. Also, if you think that Joe Biden, who did an information access request sometime before the raid, was not aware that the raid was going to occur, but then you're definitely more naive than I am. The long story short is that the Uniparty is setting Trump up. They are trying to go after him legally because they're afraid of him, and that's the long and short of it. There is no other explanation. They're trying to stop him from running altogether or stop him from being viable because they're terrified he will be the one running against Biden. All of this may, in the end, backfire. It might force their hand, and they might have to do more honking in the 24 election than they even did in 2020. Of course, they will try to cover their tracks, and by and large, they will succeed. This is why I'll also be doing a video in the near future encouraging people to partner up with Scott Presler. I think that of all of the people, other than maybe Bannon himself, he's doing that, but he has his own people. He doesn't really take volunteers. Of all the people in politics today and activism that are trying to work around the deep state's dysfunction, Scott Presler probably does it the best. And he's tall with long hair, so you can't go wrong. So I will be shouting him out in the coming days as well. I've already contacted him about this and got his official website, so I'll be sharing that out to people when I make a video on the subject. All I can say is that it's a dark day for the United States at the moment. We're seeing, again, formerly on the state, now the federal level, the getting rid of 250 years of civic precedent. We've had presidents who have philandered. We've had, including Trump, arguably. We've had presidents who have started wars on false pretenses. Well, Trump's innocent of that. He got us out of several wars and scaled down conflicts generally. We've had presidents that have lied flat out to the American people, like George W., in order to pass legislation of one sort or another, Patriot Act. We've had presidents that have weaponized bureaus. Biden's not the only one. He learned from the best, which was Obama. Look at the AP spying scandal, Fast and Furious, and Lois Lerner's IRS, if you don't believe me. We've had presidents of the United States who have done things that are terrible, actually. Highly corrupt, felonious in nature in some cases. They've never gotten in trouble. The worst that's ever been done is they get impeached. With Donald Trump, simply keeping some papers in a double-locked storage room, by the way. That is apparently legally actionable now. And if we're not successful at re-electing Donald Trump, if he does get thrown under the bus, if we don't stop the uniparty now, I would hazard people that we are on the cusp of a Julius Caesar situation, where we have one leader who is actually willing to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, who has actually done good things, would be the person you would want to lead you. Getting stabbed in the back, ironically, by the Senate in that particular story. In this case, they've outsourced it to bureaucrats, actually, Mitt Romney and Cornyn being a couple of them. They outsource it to bureaucrats, stab him in the back, and the republic dies. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, if you look at the history of the Roman Empire, just because your republic is dead and you now have an oligarchy / quasi-dictatorship doesn't mean that all the wealth goes away. It doesn't mean all the prestige and advancement and so forth go away. In fact, if anything, for the first 100 years, things are on the up and up. You get a couple of emperors there that were sour grapes, but things, they went along. For some generations, things will appear to be fine. I still believe that it's morning in America again, actually. We've got a long time. We haven't been an empire for that long. Historically speaking, I identify basically the 1950s as when the United States truly became what would amount to, historically speaking, an empire. Well, if you have a 200-year-long empirical time frame, that leaves quite a few generations to go. My problem is that empire over time tends to get more authoritarian. In Rome, in Greece, et cetera, it's always the same. It gets more authoritarian. And I don't want to think of, if I have like great-great-grandkids, them living in, what will become a Byzantine sort of situation. I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about the people that come after me. Some of them, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. We have to do them a solid and try to ameliorate the situation, because an empire can last longer. It's a matter of how long it lasts. It's our responsibility in a civic sense to make sure that the stability of our legal and civic state lasts as long as is feasibly possible. If we can kick the can down the road for an extra century or so, by defeating the unipartyists now and really, really putting the damper on them, I think that it's our responsibility to do so. And so I'll be doing everything within my power to support Donald Trump. I made a donation, by the way, the second political donation I've ever made, and the only one in a presidential campaign, actually, the other day to Donald Trump. And I would encourage others with the ability to do the same. Knock on doors, harvest the fucking ballots. And by the way, because things may go south and get bad, work on self-improvement. Drop one vice, gain one skill. That's all I'm asking clankers to do. If we're going to make it through the dark winter of neoliberal globalism, people are going to need to be able to make money, put food on the table, and do the things that they need to do, and become as unreliant on the state as is physically possible. I'll be, again, covering this in fair depth over the coming days or weeks. It is a shifty situation that we're currently in. And that's not blackpilling. I'm just a realist. Georgiev, I think DeSantis discredited himself. Trump already won against him. Next are the main elections. I think we have the same thoughts here. Yes, DeSantis, with HB 269, he ruled out any possibility of me supporting him. Good governor, overall at least, but I wouldn't want him to be the president. I want Trump. America 76. Perfect timing, sir. Just got on the treadmill. We'll enjoy the show. Excellent. The Patriot Cairo. White House violated U.S. flag code with groomer flag. It does not appear that they actually violated the flag code. That appears to be hyperbolic. Georgiev again. Also, one annoying thing. Most people think that Trump will fuck over Ukraine because he is a Russian agent. This is just stupid. Yeah, I know. It's rather sad, all the fantasies that people believe in. Scott Foradora, spank your spooter, clank your cooter. By the way, we rated Ghost the other day. We'll probably do it again. Ashley, why are so many millennials asleep? I see more Gen X and Z people more awake than them. Yeah, millennials have had a tough time, though, in our lives overall. I don't blame my fellow millennials for being a bit black-pilled and jaded because, you know, you've been through multiple recessions, a bunch of fucking wars. The internet rises up. You get addicted to the internet like crack, and then they take it out from under you by censoring everything. So, Opinionated Junkie, thoughts on BlackRock and Vanguard? They're a bunch of losers. And they're in bed with the federal government on multiple levels. Sparky, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp repaid Trump for his endorsement by promptly going on a romantic vacation to Davos with his boyfriend Chris Wray after winning the election. Haha. I didn't see that. DM me with further details. Ultra MAGA instant erectionist. Yes, I'm sure Trump is the only president in 250 years who has ever committed a crime. Either that's true or Trump is being treated unfairly according to double standards and two tiers of justice. Exactly as I pointed out. Look back through the history of presidencies, internment camps under FDR, fucking nukes under Truman, all the weird shit JFK was up to. Decent president, seemed to be independent. That's why he got killed, by the way, by the CIA. But, you know, he had his foibles. LBJ, name one in the last 100 years and see if they're clean. That and the dual system of our legal system. The law is like a spider's web. The flies are caught, the wasps go free. If you're part of that uniparty core, you can do bad things and you simply don't get charged. Or if you do, you get a slap on the wrist if you do get found guilty. If you're Donald Trump, if you broke all the unipartyist toys, all of a sudden, everything that you've done is under minute scrutiny for over a half a decade. Of course, if you look into someone that clearly, eventually you're going to find some sort of regulation that they violated. In the case of Mar-a-Lago, they did. Oh my God, he didn't repatriate these things to National Archives. The Patriot Cairo. Let's be honest. Many Americans will never vote for a guy named Vivek Ramaswamy, even though he does have great political positions. Just won't happen. Jury's out on political positions too, because he can talk the talk. Can he walk the walk? He's untested, hence, again, my preference for Trump. He is strategically intelligent, though. It was very intelligent for him to lead the pack on effectively attempting to institute a second loyalty oath, a solemn vow to pardon Donald Trump. And he manages to undercut Trump, by the way, without Trump being able to retaliate, because it looks like he's defending him. I see through it, but the average voter will not. The average MAGA voter will not see through what Ramaswamy did. They'll cast their ire at the other candidates who refused to promise so. Apache. If they convict Trump, we have fully tipped over into a banana republic territory then? The deep state is cornered, and the cornered animal is dangerous. Yes, I believe that if Donald Trump is put in prison, that we have hit our Caesar moment, unfortunately, which is why we need to do everything we can to reelect him. By the way, I mean, I don't even mind about the Caesar moment, but if you elect Caesar thereafter and say, nah, fuck the Senate, maybe we have a different storyline this time. It would be the ultimate American adventure. You have the redemption arc. Dude with no political experience rises to the presidency after a life of making billions, being a celeb and all that bullshit. He then loses because of shenanigans in the 2020 election, but then he comes back. And likely, unlike with the lock her up rhetoric that I identified at the time as hyperbolic, he may actually be willing to go after Joe Biden. He may be willing to do that. Wouldn't surprise me particularly. It would be a redemption arc. It would be an Americana story. The person was the world champion. Then they lost a match. They get into depression. They get into drugs and everything. Then they snap out of it. They clean themselves back up and they go and become champion again. Something like that. It's like a fucking movie that you're writing. Ultramaga instant erectionist. I'm glad I'm not hearing the if Trump gets indicted, it guarantees his re-election cope anymore. No, he's not guaranteed re-election. I'm just saying that I'm going to do everything within my power to secure it because I believe he's the man for the hour. Sparky, things happen many, many times more quickly nowadays than during the Roman Empire days. Yes, absolutely. We're on a truncated schedule as far as technology and stuff. That doesn't mean that the concept of empires is any different. Look at empires more recently. Again, you've got roughly the same time span, despite the fact that technology and culture begins to advance. Dante Areola, just wanted to say hello from New Jersey. Clank, clank. I appreciate every clank. Cindy Drellick, what would happen if worst case scenario, Trump gets jailed, but we all wrote in his name at the polls? Would they not count those at all? Is there anything presently in place that should count those write-ins? By the way, nice stunt cat there. Thank you very much. I'm a stand-in co-host because the other ones are too fucking lazy. You can write in Donald Trump. And if he is not the Republican nominee, I will write in Donald Trump unless Rand Paul happens to be running and Trump is 6 feet under. That's the only scenario in which I'll vote for anybody else. There is no other. Yes, they would have to count the write-in votes, and the Republicans would be soundly defeated, resoundingly, absolutely crushed out of existence. They'd become a minor party. The Democrats would then exercise their usual overstretching over the population, destroying all the political capital that they have. The neocon Republicans would suffer because they'd be the ones responsible in the end, although they will try to cast blame off on Trump and the evil MAGA voters, which are the plurality of the Republican Party. And then you might see a GOP that rises up from that in an improved form, or likewise, you might see them fall out of favor and a third party replaces them. Maybe it's the Libertarians or something. There are worse things in the world. We'll take lemons and make lemonade if we have to. Simple Logic 90. Trump seems to be doing very well with working class millennials. Very interesting. Yes, millennials have gone wildly off in the direction of the right wing, actually, insofar as you can actually beyond loosely define that. That is something that I analyzed a few days ago, I think in a new tech exclusive. Ryan Adams, Sticks, when will you get the juicy like the golden one? When will I get juicy? I don't know. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. Yes, you can get your Biltong. Grand Funk. FBI say their source on the Biden bribery scandal life's under threat. Follow-up cue should be from who? Force them to acknowledge who the threat is. Yeah, we can't release the document to you. Well, we'll get into that in a second here because I've got, the next news story. We can't release the document to you because the person who sourced the document, their life might be in danger. Well, then redact the name and redact anything else identifiable in it. It's as simple as that. And then give the document to the American people. It's unclassified so they can make their own decision. They're not doing that because they're covering for Joe Biden. Because probably the name on that document is someone that liberals would consider reliable. That's the whole problem. I suspect that the FBI is covering ass for a reason, as we've seen with the Hunter laptop and other things lately. It seems to be a repeat thing. Stevie 2049. Loving your books. I purchased 5 and will be buying and reviewing more. Lots to learn. I find myself using a lot of your idioms now. Clank, thank you very much. Get some occult works, some fiction, all sorts of good shit. Alex Bogey, was Trump intentionally arraigned on his birthday, the day after his birthday? But yeah, they timed that coincidentally now, didn't they? RP Doomer, why is USSR and China more right-wing? The West has left. The left has gone too far. No. That's a facade. China is not more right-wing in the economic sense. Moralistic in the social sense, but severely authoritarian. The Chinese mixed model is effectively a facade free market overlapped over a state-sponsored and centric system. It's a mixed model economy. It's socialism, basically. You allow a company to exploit workers in the environment to make shit tons of money so long as they toe the line. You will then be able to tell them what they have to do at any given time. Now, if they're playing nice, you try to be gentle with them because they're making money. If they're making less money, you're less nice. That is not capitalism. Capitalism is a situation, the ultimate right-wing economic situation, which you can trade freely and produce freely, value your own labor, and participate in a truly free and competitive market. That's capitalism. It has nothing to do with the Chinese or USSR style systems. The US used to be more capitalistic. It has gotten away from it over time. This is why we have stagnation. This is why with every ingenuity, like with the internet, when the internet was first new, it broke free of the socialistic constraints of the economy because it was not particularly regulated. This is why it made so much money and was such a wild ride. Later on, the government comes in, they start putting basic regulations on it. Social media did the same. Crypto did the same. Now AI is arguably doing the same. This is why all the great AI leaders who are all corporatists want the government to regulate them. They are literally begging for the government to regulate them because they don't want entrepreneurs, upstarts, and competitors. They want to monopolize it from day one, making it boring, making it useless, and making it controlled. Let's see. Opinionated junkie. Trump said he will go after Biden if reelected. Yes, and I believe him that he will. He's being much more committal than the simply dancing around to lock her up chance in 2016. Hunter Wadley. Americans cannot critically think on average. That's my biggest black pill, just my opinion. Oh, most people can't think critically. It doesn't matter if they're Americans or not. Uncle Sam, Trump should change to independent, would disrupt the entire system, certainly would change voting patterns. No, he would be vilified, and the TDS suffering side of the Republicans would claim vindication, and a lot of people would be taken in by it. It makes sense for him to remain as he is a Republican at this time. Necro Google. Biden bribed while VP. Calls recorded. Trump impeached for inquiring. FBI investigates and collects via informant. Trump indicted on weak charges. Both times legit info on bribing goes public. UFO psyop. Bribing. I like that moniker. Paul Ross. What are the chances of RFK Jr. beating Biden? 0%. He has a chance if Biden dies or stands down. That's the only way. We'll be talking about RFK Jr. He's not a real populist, and the people that are lionizing him, you shouldn't be taken in by the grift, because that's what it is. John A. If people want to see Trump win, more have to get active somehow. Sticks, do you think Trump's ballot harvesting will be where it needs to be? Hashtag donate, volunteer, and vote. Yes, ballot harvesting, unfortunately, now is a thing. Sauron's ring is now in the hands of multiple armies. Somehow they've managed to clone it, and they're all using it against one another. I warned about this can of worms, that it was number one, inevitable, and number two, unfortunate, but you're going to have to play that game. Later on, don't expect the genie to be put back in the bottle. It'll continue being a thing. If the Republicans manage to kick ass and Trump is reelected and everything's hunky-dory, imagine that they immediately let go of the issue because they realize that they can win on it. The same way that Citizens United is sporadically talked about now, but was widely talked about before by people that then never lifted a finger to undo that court decision. Apache. I don't understand the Dem voter. They recognize that Dem cities are terrible and move away from them, but want the same policies federally? Makes zero sense. Well, the people that are moving disagree with them. Now, the people that move away from the Dem cities to Texas or Florida or whatever aren't the ones that are promulgating those policies. They're the disaffected. Eric writes, there still isn't a single squirrel astronaut. Big mad. Ashley, hashtag bribing Biden. Sparky, the Duran rules. No, I think that I rule. Duran sounds pretty cool, though. Mojo Hansen, Larry McDonald predicted all this crap happening. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of predictable. They're afraid of the man, so they're keeping it up. Big boy, Biden should pardon Trump, Hunter, and himself under the guise of calming political tensions and unifying the country. Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about pardoning himself or Hunter because the federal system has been instituted to protect him. So that's why that won't happen. Let's see. Next news story. Joe and Hunter Biden caught on 17 recordings with Burisma owner, Grassley reveals FBI form says. Now, again, we're going to play a little bit of a game here. It's called using fucking common sense. We know that the FBI memo, unclassified, it's just handwritten notation, would not exist unless there were a reason for it to exist. That's the way that the internal documents there work. Speculation would be based on some sort of actual tangible thing happening. For instance, the wire transfer. We know there was a $5 million wire transfer to Joe when he was VP. This raised red flags. The claim is that Joe Biden repeatedly spoke with a foreign national over the Burisma business and that those recordings are real, that they're blackmail. They're being held by this foreign national And so, you know, if you pay him enough, probably you can get the recordings and crush Joe Biden. Here's my caution. Let's say that a foreign national has blackmail on Biden to the tune of $5 million for some conversations. Why would that individual cough them up for any fucking price when you could just sit on them, make the Republicans look stupid, get Biden reelected, and continue holding it over his head? Oh, you can get a lot more than $5 billion. If we're talking about Burisma, if we're talking about Ukraine, we're talking about currently hundreds of billions of dollars. That's a lot of money. You got to realize the way in which the former Soviet Union operates. Russia operates like this. The state and the corporations have a very good communication with one another. If Putin or some general or something wants something made, wants something done, it will be done, because otherwise you probably end up dead or you end up criminally investigated. You know, the Gestapo decides to kick down your door at 3 a.m. and, oh, lordy, you got a bunch of crack in here. Yeah, we planted it there, but nobody's ever going to know because we disabled the camera system because the KGB is pretty good at its job. You're fucked. You're going to be in the gulag for the next 10 years. I mean, you can try again when you get out. After you break rocks for a while, you'll look much more masculine, and we'll give you a diplomatic role as long as you apologize profusely enough. That's the way it works. To believe otherwise is the irony involved with this process with Russia, Ukraine, and similar countries, and the way that business and government interacts. To believe otherwise than that this would be held as leverage it flies in the face of all reality. It flies in the face of all knowledge that we understand about this part of the world. It's not the same as the way things happen in Italy or in the United States or in Denmark. It's a different world. It's a different method. This is, by the way, one of Trump's biggest advantages over all of his rivals and over Joe, certainly, is that he knows how to do business in some of these parts of the world because he's been a businessman. Many of these others, other than ironically Ramaswamy again, haven't really done that. So they don't understand how a boardroom works in Korea. They don't understand how palace politics work in Beijing. Donald Trump does. Another reason to vote for him. And when I look at this Burisma crap going on, all I can say is that this is effectively nothing more than a dovetailed takeoff of the original FBI cover-up of Joe Biden's large sweeping crimes with regards to the Hunter Biden laptop. The two are intertwined. The Burisma, the big guy sort of thing, apparently big guy was quite literally the alleged nickname of Joe Biden on these very recordings. The connection is enormous between what we saw there and what we're seeing now. The FBI is involved both times. They're acting in a cover-up style manner both times. Put two and two together. What do you have? You have a super scandal. You have multiple super scandals, all of which are impeachable. Joe Biden should be removed from office, but the FBI has his back, partially because of the nature of globalism. These foreign leaders in multiple countries that have blackmail on Joe Biden aren't going to do it. They're not going to step out of line. The FBI is not worried about some foreign national that already got paid off releasing the phone conversations unless they command him to do so because Biden has outlived his usefulness. But because Biden is a puppet in an empty vessel, they have no reason to do that. They've got an empty suit in the White House right now. They can control hook, line, and sinker simply because the blackmail exists at all, which is why the deep state will stick with Joe Biden. Sandy Pez, we look so weak to our enemies and they know 45 is coming back. Should we be concerned that one of them is going to step up attack plan before 2024? Possibly. We should definitely keep a lookout on Taiwan and other places that are potential flashpoints in the world. Somehow I missed yours, but I read out Big Boys there. MJ, keep up the great work and keep the faith. Yeah, man. Sparky, Clank Nation rules too. Don't disrespect the Clank. Jesus loves you. The U.S. military loses 4 times as many people to suicide as combat. Our own leadership is 400% more likely to make us end our own lives than the enemy is to kill us. Last 20 years, we lost 7K to combat and 30K to suicide. Yeah, working for the government will drive you nuts. Not a big surprise. Don Jones, do the Netherlands have a strong distributive system? If so, does it work? Are taxes high? And do you support some kind of distributive system, or are you hardcore objectivist? Ayn Rand. Thanks. It's not nearly as socialistic in the Netherlands as people in the United States have been conned into believing by the likes of Bernie Sanders. There's a pay-in healthcare system. You don't get free healthcare. You're required to have insurance. It's sort of like Obamacare, actually. I would say that they're roughly similar, except that here it's legally required. In the U.S., you simply have to pay a massive tax penalty if you don't have it. So it's similar-ish on that token. There's plenty of collective action, like with trash removal, landscaping, and sort of upkeeping the land, so to speak. There's a lot of city and town crews and so forth that do that. Otherwise, no, it's not a particularly redistributive system. And I am more on the objectivist side, definitely. I'd like a society in which I can just be fucking left alone, because a lot of people are fucking morons. Opinionated junkie, Vanguard majority shareholders in Target and Walmart. Ha ha ha, what a coinky dink. Sparky, Garland Nixon had a great video with Tom Lango yesterday. Tom knows the deal on behind-the-scenes intricacies with banks, central and otherwise. John A. Oh, and by the way, Trump unironically mentioned the government intelligence agency's psyops on the American people via the MSM and legal system, compared it to their operations in foreign countries. Well, I mean, you got to realize to the globalists, every country is a foreign country because they have no national loyalty. It makes sense that they would act in that manner. Sparky, Jeffrey Sachs makes sense on the Ukraine issue. Charlie, first chat ever. Got 2 of your books. Clank on. Thank you very much. Buy more. BW, heard from Fox NPR local news, the Alabama ruling means Louisiana and Georgia have to redraw their maps. 2 conservatives just returned the entire South blue. Yeah, when looking at that decision, although it was a tightly worded decision, it's really hard to agree or disagree because the specific maps that were involved did seem highly discriminatory and predatory in nature. That being said, you've created, at least in a limited sense, a reason for other states to bitch about the same issue. I'm not sure exactly why the Supreme Court didn't bounce the case in the first place. They should have just not agreed to hear it. Cindy Drellick, my choice is between Ron Paul and Trump, but I agree Ron's voice. How can a man campaign when he sounds like he's on an iron lung and about to take his last breath? I love his views, but his voice alone would sink him. Well, also RFK Jr. is a massive anti-gunner, so that sort of sours the deal for people like me. Scott McLaughlin, what are the odds on a Kennedy-like assassination by the deep state if it looks like the legal system won't work? Unfortunately, measurable. We'll see. I mean, they threw out 250 years of legal precedent. Why wouldn't they go further? There's nothing to stop them from doing so. The Patriot Cairo. The Fed's weaponized classification of almost everything to shroud and protect themselves when abusing opponents like Trump. Yes, and also to make it impossible for anyone to be in government without breaking the law so they can selectively enforce it afterwards, retrospectively, and then put them in jail. Ozzy's Robots, Morning Sticks and Clankers, headed to Alaska today for 10 days. Yesterday seemed like a bleak day for democracy, regardless of outcome. Clank on. The hell are you going to Alaska for? This time of year? Have you seen the size of the mosquitoes? I hope you got your bug net. Sparky, Pentagon is now populated with people who got there via the fuck up, move on principle. Brian Zwart, the spoon is indeed mightier than the fork. Clank. We got the next news story. We've got an incident that happened the other day at the Pride event in the White House. I talked about it this morning. It was a very fun video. I like the thumbnail for it as me with a shit-eating grin. White House condemns trans activist for going topless at Pride Month event. Inappropriate and disrespectful. Biden's White House says Rose Montoya and others will not be invited to future events. Yeah, what happened? And there's a video there if you want to see a man's boobs, which, you know, normally when a man has boobs, you know, you say, okay, well, you drank too much Bud Light. You got old. Apparently that's now in fashion, according to the influencers that be. And several trans activists, so-called influencers, I guess, I don't know anything else about Rose Montoya, probably TikToker more than anything else, and quite literally, were shaking their boobies at the camera for a TikTok video at the Pride event. This is the one pertinent to the Pride flag, arguably violating flag code. Again, it doesn't appear that it literally does. It's just in poor taste. The flag is not displayed above the U.S. flag, nor solely to the right of it. So it doesn't appear to be a violation of flag code. It just rankled a bunch of people. It's sort of like when Bud Light had Dylan Mulvaney aboard. Well, you're not doing anything legally actionable. I don't personally care because I don't drink piss beer because I'm not a pussy. But, you know, it was a bad idea. You lost a lot of support as the result of this. The problem is that these influencers at the trans pride event decided to take their shirts off and jiggle around their biologically male boobs. Now, the White House responded by condemning this. There are many things to say about this incident. Firstly, technically, these are biological males, so biological male being topless is not all that uncommon. I've been topless in videos. You see, go to the beach and you see a hot day. The men aren't wearing shirts. I mean, some of them are, but you know, preferably the ones with the enormous guts. You know, they're 70 years old or something. But mostly they have their shirts off, and nobody cares about it because the men's nipples are not sexual. Nobody could possibly get turned on by them anyway. My hairy nipples, real turn on for people. Nobody cares. So that's one level. Secondly, Joe Biden and his party have encouraged this kind of behavior. Karine Jean-Pierre is constantly having to simp for transgendered individuals, biological males, with in some cases they're trans, in some cases they're just in drag, you know, twerking in front of 10-year-olds. Well, then why is it unacceptable for the White House? You're saying it's acceptable in front of kids, so it's not even an M-rated sort of thing. It's not R-rated. It's family friendly. It's G-rated. It's perfectly fine. Why would you have a problem with Rose Montoya taking his boobies out then at the White House? I think that Biden should have to watch them twerk it. I think that they should take all their clothes off. I don't know if they're pre or post-op, and it doesn't really matter. Joe Biden should have to lean in for a deep sniff of that cheesy goodness because he's a fucking hypocrite. It's NIMBYism. It's NIMBYism writ large. This is a typical neoliberal thing. Not on my lawn. Over there, it's fine. Go ahead, victimize the kids, do whatever you fucking want to do. Don't do it in front of me because of political strategy. That's basically Biden's problem with this. I found that hilarious. This is one of the funniest stories, actually, that I've ever seen. I was laughing my ass off. Paul Ross, which would you give up forever, fries or bacon? I like both of them. That's a good question. Well, fries are more versatile. I think I'll keep the fries, actually, as opposed to the bacon. Although speck is good, you know, stomp pot and stuff. I don't know. You've stumped me, actually. BW, do you think Whole South is going to redraw their maps? No, I think that those states will, and it will be limited to that because it's a narrow decision. Sparky, no need to worry. If Biden should falter, Kamala will save us. Sticks, it's the F up, move on principle, not move on. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, Kamala saving us. She can't even save herself. She probably couldn't find her way out of a cardboard box. Cindy Drellick, I meant RFK's voice. I need coffee. Yes, RFK has that one unfortunate condition. He has a vocal issue. I think because of surgery some years ago, actually, for some condition. It's hard to listen to him speak. I tuned it out. When he was doing that Twitter space, after 10 minutes, I had had enough of it. I had to tune it out. I'm going to be honest here. I don't have any problem with the dude other than his views on firearm ownership. I mean, he's better than Joe Biden overall. Certainly more intelligent than Marianne Williamson, who blocked me on Twitter some time ago and thought that was even more fucking hilarious. But he's got a problem. He's not going to be elected with the inability to speak. It's just not possible. It's not feasible to expect people to vote for someone that they can't listen to. Apache, only one was a bio male. The other two were zipper nips. I don't know what that refers to. I probably don't want to. J Glow, I don't want a man or a woman without a shirt on. I think going shirtless is fine. I do it all the time in this kind of weather, just not on camera anymore. Sparky, try Yuengling Golden Pilsner. It's better than the more common Yuengling Lager. I don't drink beer. I don't have any time for beer. I've got a child to take care of and a shit ton of work to do. I don't have time to slam down the Fosters. Jesus loves you. Sticks, have you seen the Fat Leonard legal case? No? Probably someone should DM me on Twitter about it, though, because it sounds funny. Sparky, move up, not on. Let's move on from your super chat. Next news story. Speaking of RFK Jr., this is, God, I don't even know exactly how to put this. Populism may be driving RFK Jr. towards the White House. Now, first, you're wrong. RFK Jr. has no fucking chance of beating Joe Biden. Biden is a candidate that people are sour on. They're reluctantly supporting him, looking at the GOP field. A lot of Dem partisans. They're not happy about the fact that they have to back elderly Joe. But RFK Jr. has no chance unless Joe Biden literally croaks or drops out of the race for some inexplicable reason. He's told to fuck off by the CIA that RFK Jr. claims to hate so much. RFK Jr. has a speaking impediment, a severe one. He is not capable, therefore, of using his otherwise decent personal charisma to gain votes. It is not possible for him to be a threat to Biden. When they say, well, Biden's people silently must be warning him that he has to beware of RFK Jr. No, he doesn't. He's not even campaigning. The man's doing absolutely nothing. RFK Jr. is locked in at about 15 right now. He had his heyday when he first jumped in. He hit about 20 points. He's declined since then. He's sort of like the DeSantis of the electoral cycle on the other side. Marianne Williamson can't even deal with pedestrian criticism. Joe Biden, while he is a weak incumbent, and certainly does not have the kind of support Trump did in 2020, and certainly a third of the party seems to be willing to vote for somebody else, RFK Jr., Marianne Williamson, potentially someone else gets in, he will get the nomination unless he dies or he decides to drop. That is the writing on the wall. That's just the way that it's going to be. RFK Jr. is not even a populist, by the way, number two, as I would point out. What populism? What are you talking about? What policies does he promote other than, hey, people should have personal choice over medical decisions? Other than that, where's the populism? It's a standard neoliberal platform plus extra anti-gunnery in which he simply is, he feels abhorrent towards that one thing and censorship. Well, we've heard a big game from Dems before. Kucinich has railed about tech censorship now for the better part of a decade. Well, he's a progressive. He's far left. He makes Bernie Sanders in some cases look like a right-winger. The fact that he's right on one or two issues does not make him a populist. What do you think populism even is goddamn defined as? How is RFK Jr. a fucking populist? Doesn't make any sense to use the label. I would say simply he's a liberal who has a couple of good ideas. That's basically the long and short of RFK Jr. So I'm not taken in by the nonsense. Mojo Hansen, RFK Jr. is inspiring a lot of anarchists and commies. Yeah, by the way, exactly, the company you keep. It is kind of interesting that a lot of people on the further left do like him and hate him. Some of them maybe because of based on some of his economic views, they fucking hate him. Cam2425 IA on Rumble. What odds do you put on a grassy knoll scenario for Trump? I won't give you odds, but I will say that it is a measurable enough threat that it's good that he's rich enough to afford his own private security because the Secret Service threw JFK under the bus and let him die. And you, again, look up the Secret Service stand-down video for JFK. Tell me that that wasn't deliberate. Tell me that that was just a coincidence that about 10 seconds later he got his head blown off. Bullshit. Razgriz259. Sticks, first time chat here. Wouldn't a vote for Trump require a majority in which a lot of GOP may support Trump? They would flip if they think that he can't win, and they'd have plausible deniability to do it. And they will fuck the nation in the ass once again. Sparky, F up, move up is the principle, where it's easier to promote someone than to get them out of the way than it is to fire them. It happens often in military and other government service, and in corporations. Jesus loves you. Fat Leonard is the Epstein of the U.S. military, and they keep delaying his trial because they want him to die of his cancer before he can expose them. Interesting. I'll have to look it up. Spike11117. Egypt has applied to join BRICS. Iran will soon, and Kenya is calling for African nations to drop the dollar. Is the petrodollar dying? Thoughts? No, the petrodollar does not exist. It's the aircraft carrier dollar more than anything else. Again, we're just moving into our possible Caesar period, but the United States hasn't even close to come close to 200 years as an empire. It's about 70, give or take a decade or so, 60, 80, somewhere around there. We will all be dead and gone before the United States goes Byzantine. What I'm hoping to do is order things in such a way that it lasts longer, that my children, grandchildren, etc., going on through have a better life than they would otherwise have. And if we slip into oligarchy now, it might cut our capabilities short quicker. Maybe it's 150 years instead of 200. Red Rom, I honestly wonder what chaos would ensue in the hypothetical timeline where Biden and Trump end up croaking. Well, it's possible, One of them gets JFK'd, the other one just has an aneurysm. The political system would be feeling some pressure. The Patriot Cairo, Biden is an inbred pea freak. Inbred pea freak. I don't know what gets him off other than the sniffy thing. The next news story, IRS gets major power to request private tax info after Supreme Court decision. Now, the good news is this is more about their ability to request information from people, or on people, rather. The bad news is it is an expansion of the IRS's technical power right before the IRS is set to be expanded with more agents, more budget, more scope, etc. This, it was not a good decision. The IRS should not be able to, the IRS shouldn't even exist. There's no need for it to exist. In some countries, filing your taxes is online, and it's 2 pages long like Estonia. You don't need the sort of system that you have in the United States unless you want bureaucratic bullshit going on. And that's the whole point. It's differential enforcement. The IRS can audit anyone it wants and force them to show the receipts for things they wrote off, etc. Now, if you don't have any write-offs at all and you're only salaried or something like that, there's no way you can really cheat on your taxes. Everything's form involved. Like with me, all of the income that I have, it comes attached with a form. The IRS already has the form. I have to attach a copy of it when I file. The IRS has it regardless of if I do. If I accidentally forget to include one of those forms and say, shit, I made $30,000 less than I expected. Oh, fuck. That's going to be a problem. The IRS will notice that. That's a fairly simplistic and straightforward thing. The employer handles that. Of course, if you're self-employed, like I get money from Amazon, I get money from Google because of these Superchats people are sending, from Rumble, etc. I get a form involved with that. Now, there's no way to cheat because as far as write-offs go, while I qualify for a lot, I prefer to take fewer than I'm actually technically allowed to, just so that I can show the receipts because I don't want any problems. Although I would point out that unless it's egregious, typically what you have to do, you have to either pay them their blood money, and there are payment plans and shit like that. Most people don't actually go to jail for tax fraud unless it's obviously malicious and significant. Like, someone skeeved $500, they're not likely to go to prison, but they are likely to be unable to pay the $500 if they really skeeved on that much in taxation, which can be a problem for them. But the IRS is slated to be considerably increased in size and scope because of the cucking of the GOP. Now is not the time to hand them more power. I think another reason to vote for Trump, hopefully he says, no, we're not going to allocate that. Fuck you. Let's see. Trent Lothran Sticks. There was an older balding Swedish YouTuber I used to watch. Can you ask chat to @me with his name? I'd enjoy finding his channel again. Thank you. Okay, everyone, on the lookout for an older gentleman from Sweden who is balding and is a YouTuber. I myself have no clue who that would be. Yeah. Well, if somebody can tell him, they can @Trent Lothruin or Lothruin. I don't know how to pronounce that. My apologies. Sparky, Clank Nation will render the United States a footnote in history. Yes, pretty soon, the dictatorship of the Clank. Gnarly 66 Sticks, what's your beef with Vivek? He seems legit. I don't have any evidence of him walking the walk, just talking the talk. And so I prefer the person who's had on-the-job experience, namely Donald. Scott McLaughlin. Gavin Newsom is laying pipe down in case Biden falls down and can't get up. Nobody wants a Harris run. Yes, he clearly is. Gavin Newsom is throwing everything he can at presumably making a proto-campaign just in case Biden's not the nominee. He wants to, and he would beat Kamala. Have you seen her support levels? Next news story. And by the way, please send no more super chats. I'm going to gloss these over really quick because I'm already almost on an hour. Time flies when you're having fun. Massachusetts students destroy rainbow decorations at middle school pride event. By the way, the school is, and some people there are trying to get charges filed against these kids, the fucking middle schoolers. What happened is that the school was attempting to coerce students into wearing pride pins and putting up flags and shit everywhere. And some students decided not to. And so they were taking off the pride pins and stomping on them. They were pulling down rainbow flags and saying that their pronouns were USA. And they all showed up wearing red, white, and blue attire that day. Protests among students should be encouraged. This is what kids are supposed to do. They're not supposed to listen to their teachers, especially middle schoolers and you look at 10th graders too, a little bit of an anomaly. Middle schoolers are supposed to fight back against the powers that be. They're going through fucking puberty. It's going to happen, number one. It should happen, number two. It's normal. It's their Rumspringa, so to speak. This is what's supposed to happen. When I see parents flipping out about this, and when I see the school boards, obviously we need more diversity and inclusion. We need to look into this. They were searching the bathrooms, right? And according to them, this is no bullshit here. They found a racist and anti-Semitic graffiti in some of the middle school bathrooms. May I please ask these school administrators to do something? Go to other schools, in that district or any other. Find an example. Fucking find me one example of a middle school bathroom that doesn't have a swastika in it. Find one single one. Unless it's been recently scrubbed out and repaired, you're going to find a swastika in there somewhere. You're also going to find dicks. You're also going to find crude drawings of vaginas, which don't look anatomically correct because they're middle schoolers, generally speaking. That's going to escape them. And you'll find references to girls that they want to be with. Or you go to the girls' bathroom, you're going to find a picture of Chad, I guess, or some poetry, some off-color poetry usually. You're going to find diarrhea references, bawdy jokes. This is what people do. Fuck, bathrooms are basically built for graffiti anyway. Jesus Christ. The idea that they went and they searched the school top to bottom to find out what radicalized the middle schoolers. They said, oh shit, it's probably the Jew reference in this one bathroom stall, in this one bathroom. It was already there. It's probably a month old. It had nothing to do with this. Maybe one of the students wearing the pride pin was the one that put the swastika there. You got to be kidding me. How long have you been adults that you've forgotten what it's like to be a teenager? How long have you been adults that you've become a fuddy-duddy? You've been, as we used to call them back, before I was a fuddy-duddy, back before I was old. You become old. You become boring. You piece of shit. Nobody cares. Teens are edgy. Oh my God. As an early internet user, I never guessed that could possibly be a thing. I thought that middle schoolers were very polite. I always thought that they were polite. They help little old ladies across the street. They always mind themselves when they're in public. They never say anything bawdy. They don't raise their voices. They respect their parents so well, don't they? Look, I've got a daughter. I'm waiting eagerly for those years, the 12 to 14 demographic. I know I'm going to get an earful. I know that I'm going to see weird shit. I know I'm going to hear weird shit. I know I'm going to lose sleep because, she got a boyfriend or something like that. Be realistic, dude. These are middle schoolers. I'm proud of them, by the way, for having done this. Oh my God, it's basically like another Holocaust, they'll say. It's terrible. Oh my God. There was an instance of racist graffiti in the bathroom. Okay, so it's a middle school. And the kids were, going crazy. And they pulled down a couple of the pride flags. So who cares? Unless they're out on the playground burning them or committing arson or something like that, who cares? It's not your place to put that shit up in a school anyway. I support gay rights. I have no problem with anyone for being trans. I don't care about those things. I'm not a moralist. But if you're expecting middle schoolers of all people in the entire world, U.S. middle schoolers from Massachusetts, especially masshole middle schoolers, God, I wouldn't want to be a teacher in that school under normal circumstances either. Of course they're going to get backlash against that. Bullshit. These things, when you talk to these people about anal sex, they're going to make a million jokes about it. They're middle schoolers. And then the final news story, scoop. Fox sends Tucker Carlson cease and desist letter. Short and sweet. They can fuck themselves. It does not appear that he's violating his contract by making posts on Twitter because he's not working in a newsroom. He's not competing with his old time slot. So it's probably a non-starter. They'll keep going. They might file a lawsuit, but, who knows? Anyway, I'm going to go offline. I just wanted to throw that in right at the end because, the other stuff was more fun. I'm not a huge fan of Tucker Carlson, but if it's between him and Fox News, yeah, I prefer Tucker Carlson. He's listenable. Sometimes he says something that's sensible. Sometimes he has good ideas. Name another person on Fox that conforms to that other than Hannity after he fucking takes a handful of magic mushrooms. You'd have to get that dude loaded to get a one-off, and everyone else there is basically beyond repair in the psychosocial fashion. By the way, I like how there are as many people watching on Rumble as on YouTube right now. 6,000 people watching live. I'd go for 2 hours, but I have a daughter. In the future, maybe when I have an office set up, I'll try to do a little bit more, by the way. Anyway, I'm going to go offline. I will be live again around the same time tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, link in the description, cross-platform. Please do get a copy of my work on gun rights if you haven't already. And even if you have, please go check if you did make a rating, if it's still there. Because I think that Amazon scrubbed about a dozen of them for spammy behavior. So you made an account just to make a rating on mine, and Amazon decided that, well, there were 20 ratings in an hour, so they're probably bots or something. I know that that's not the case, but naturally it could be a glitch in the system. Sparky sticks his daughter. Daddy, you're so Squaresville. Yeah, grown zone, Dad. Oh, God, what lame jokes. I can't wait to fucking dad troll. It's going to be great. That's about all.